You grow up in a village that measures time by bells. Morning bell, midday bell, evening bell. The sound carries over fields of rye and damp earth and settles into your bones before you are old enough to name it. Your father keeps bees. Your mother keeps silence. You learn both. You marry at 16. Matthias is steady, not unkind. A man who understands fences and accounts and how closely neighbors watch one another. He chooses you because you are capable. You choose him because that is how choosing works here. The first winter after your wedding, you are warm. The second winter, you are pregnant. The child comes early, a small boy with a thin cry and skin too pale for August. You hold him to your chest and count his breaths like coins. The midwife says he is weak, but he is baptized. That is what matters. He dies before the frost. They say winter fever. They say God's will. They say you are young and there will be others. There are not. You keep the small linen cap he wore folded in a wooden box. You do not open it often. You do not speak of him at all. The village moves forward. It always does. You learn the language of plants from an older woman who lives near the stream. She shows you which leaves cool a fever, which seeds quiet a coughing child. You listen. You remember. When her hands begin to shake, yours do not. Women knock on your door in the evenings. A salve for cracked skin. A Tizen for restless sleep. Something to ease a labor that has lasted too long. You never ask for coin outright. They leave eggs, bread, sometimes nothing. They thank you when it works. They look at you longer when it doesn't. You sit in the third pew at church, not the first, not the back. Piety here is visible. Marriage protects you. That is what you are told. A woman alone is a question. A woman with a husband is an answer. For a while it holds. Then the winters grow longer. The rye fails one season. Then again. A cow on the eastern pasture miscarries in the mud. 2 children develop fevers that do not break. The river floods in April and drowns a row of seedlings. People begin to count misfortunes. You had argued with Greta over a debt for honey. You had refused to lend her herbs when her daughter married and moved away. You had once said, too plainly, that prayer does not mend a torn muscle. You remember saying it. You do not remember thinking it dangerous. Matthias grows quieter. He's begun spending afternoons at the mill longer than necessary. There's a girl there, young, fair hair the color of new straw. Her father owns land beyond the birch grove. She laughs easily. You notice because the village notices. He does not touch you at night. One Sunday, the priest speaks of hidden rot, of sin that lies beneath the surface like mold in grain, of the devil moving through women who do not know their place. You keep your eyes lowered. That evening, Matthias asks whether you still visit the stream to gather plants. You say yes. He nods, nothing more. They come for you on a Tuesday. 2 men from the magistrate's house, 1 clerk with ink-stained fingers. The priest stands behind them. The accusation is read calmly. Suspicion of maleficium, harm done through unnatural means, influence over livestock, over children. You look at Matthias. He says he has noticed changes in you, that you wake in the night, that you speak in your sleep, that after the baby died, something hardened. He says he fears for your soul. It sounds like concern. It feels like distance. You are taken to a stone room beneath the town hall in the neighboring village. The walls sweat. The straw on the floor smells of old damp. They ask questions first. Did you consort with dark forces? Did you make pact? Did you curse Greta's cow? Did you draw fever into children? You say no. They write it down. 3 neighbors testify. Greta speaks of the argument. Another recalls seeing you near the pasture before the miscarriage. A man says his son's fever began the night after you visited. The priest urges confession. He says truth saves the soul even if the body must suffer. He says stubbornness is pride, and pride is the devil's doorway. You say you are innocent. They show you the instruments before they use them. Rope, iron, wood. The law permits persuasion. Sleep becomes irregular. Questions repeat. Hours stretch without measure. Your answers do not change. The room remains cold. On the 4th day, Matthias visits. He stands beyond the bars, does not step closer. He says, if you confess, mercy is possible. A quicker end. prayer over flame instead of silence. He says you must think of eternity. You ask him if he believes it. He does not answer directly. He says the village must be cleansed. You understand then that he has already stepped into another life, one where you are a story told in low voices, one where the girl from the mill stands beside him in church. You are not angry. You are tired. They ask again if you have lain with the devil. You say no. They ask if you have cursed livestock. You say no. They tighten the rope. Pain arrives in clean lines. It narrows the world. It reduces questions to simple exchanges, speak or endure. Confession is described to you in detail. You need only agree. They will write it properly. You need only say yes. You think of your son's linen cap in the wooden box. You think of the stream in spring. You think of bees moving from flower to flower without asking permission. You say what they need to hear. You say you were tempted in grief, that a dark shape came to you after the child died, that you were weak. That is enough. Sentence is passed within the week. Death by fire, public purification. The announcement is nailed to the church door. People read it after service. Some nod. Some cross themselves. Some avoid one another's eyes. On the morning of your execution, the sky is pale and undecided. They bind your hands loosely. You are not struggling. The walk to the square is shorter than you remember. Wood has been stacked carefully. The stake is solid, practical. The priest offers final absolution. You repeat the prayers he gives you. Your voice is steady. Matthias stands near the back. The girl from the mill stands 2 steps behind him. Her hair is covered now, proper. You do not look at them long. The crowd is quiet, no shouting, no frenzy, just attendance. Being seen matters. Fire is presented as cleansing, as mercy, as necessary order, restored. When the smoke begins, it smells like any hearth. For a moment, the world narrows again. Heat replaces cold. The sky above remains wide and indifferent. By evening, the square is swept. Within a year, Matthias remarries. The girl bears him a child before the next harvest. A healthy boy with strong lungs. The village calls it proof of God's favor. Your house changes hands. Your herbs dry unused in a corner until they are thrown out. The wooden box with the linen cap is burned with the rest. Your name is spoken less each month. Children are warned not to wander near the stream where you once gathered plants. Women hesitate before speaking too boldly in the presence of men. Midwives work more carefully, more quietly. The village survives. It always does. Years later, another winter comes hard and long. Another woman, older now, living alone, finds neighbors looking at her differently. The pattern does not require memory. It requires fear. They say witches consort with the devil. They say women are weaker vessels. What they mean is that order must be kept. You were not a storm, not a curse, not a pact whispered in darkness. You were a wife who buried a child, a woman who knew which roots eased pain. By the time the bells ring that evening, smoke has thinned into the air. The sound carries over the fields. Morning bell, midday bell, evening bell. The village counts itself intact. And somewhere beneath the soil beyond the birch grove, the earth holds what the fire could not cleanse. That brings us to the end of this story. This story is fiction, but in early modern Europe, accusations like these followed patterns that were all too real. A failed harvest, a sick child, a woman who stood slightly apart. Fear needed an explanation, and sometimes a person became one. It makes you wonder how easily grief, independence, difference, or simple misfortune can be reshaped into blame when a community needs someone to carry its uncertainty. If you had lived in that village, bound by its hunger, its faith, its fragile order, what would you have done? Would you have spoken up, stayed silent, or looked away? If you enjoyed this video, drop a comment and tell me what you think. I've got more stories like this coming. Hit subscribe so you don't miss the next one.